Hello guys, we're back with Bobby Fischer series. So far I covered 3 games of the book and we are with the game 4. Here we are in Argentina, we are in Buenos Aires. This was Mar del Plata tournament in which was played in 1959 and 15 men were playing this awesome chess tournament. Amongst them was 16-year-old Bobby Fischer, who was already a grandmaster and one of the best players in the world. And he was facing Herman Pilnik, who had a rating of 2611 at the time, and he was ranked 59 in the world. Fischer was ranked already, I believe, 19 in the world and was much higher rated than his opponent Pilnik. He was 2680 rating points, so a lot higher, but Pilnik was also much older than Fischer. Pilnik was 44 years old, and a lot of strong players participated in this tournament. Amongst them was Yuko and Najdorf. And when I was preparing for this game, I searched in a lot of websites for the information and facts. And interesting was that Najdorf was the first one. He shared the first place with Pachman and Fischer and Ilko from Yugoslavia were sharing third and fourth place. So yeah, Fischer really warned about himself in this tournament. So let's see this game. And one more thing, if you are enjoying in my Bobby Fischer series, please subscribe to my channel, share this video with your friends, chess lovers, and people who know and really like Bobby Fischer, so a lot of people can join and enjoy in Bobby Fischer's games. And let's get straight to the action. Here, as you can see, Pilnik with the white pieces opened the game with e4, and we have c5 by Bobby. So the Sicilian defense is on the board. We have knight to f3, d6 and d4 striking the center immediately, and we have a trade. C takes on d4, knight takes on d4, and now knight to f6, putting some pressure on the pawn. You need to defend. This is standard stuff. Knight to c3 and a6. So we have the classical, the standard Najdorf variation of the Sicilian. And now we have bishop to e2 and e5 by Bobby. Knight jumps to b3 and bishop to e7. Here you can play as black. You can play bishop to e6 can be played, even knight to c6 can be played. But Bobby chose bishop to e7, and now we have castles. And here I can show you an interesting line, which Bobby described in the book. If Pilnik continued with bishop to g5, Bobby would just castles, and we would see something like knight jumps to d2, defending the pawn. But here is a nice tactic. Can you spot it? It's knight takes on e4, and now we would see some trades. Bishop takes on e7, knight takes on c3, eyeing that queen. Bishop takes the queen, and knight takes the queen. Bishop goes to e7, attacks the rook and the pawn, but rook moves to e8, attacks the bishop, and knight jumps to c4, eyeing those weak dark squares, but you play knight takes on b2. You challenge the knight, and now we see something like knight b6 going for that a8 rook. Rook takes bishop, and knight takes rook, and now knight to a4. You secure this b6 square, castles long, and rook to d7 defending the pawn, and at the end of the line, Fischer says that this would be a much better position for black. So it can be played for both sides. As you can see, they're about equal, but Fischer says he wouldn't mind playing this as black. An interesting line to show, so, but in the game castles was played by both players, and we have bishop to e3, nicely developing the bishop, bishop to e6, and f3. Here in this position, the sharper continuation was to go for, this was played between Smislov and Gligoric later in 1962 in Havana tournament, where Smislov continued the game with a4, and Gligoric responded with queen c7 and even a5, stopping any b5 ideas. Knight to d7 was played, and knight to d5, eyeing that queen. So you need to trade the knight. Knight takes on d5, and e takes on d5. Bishop goes to f5, and now even c4. Bishop to g6, maybe preparing f5 and f4 ideas. King goes to h1, nicely sidestepping from this long diagonal, and rook from a to c8. Black is putting a lot of pressure on that c file. Queen to d2, and queen goes back to d8. Rook from a to c1, nicely controlling this c file. h6, making some breathing room for the king, and we have f4 striking the center. Here Gligoric captured the pawn. This is the best thing to do. You need to free this e5 square for your knight. E takes on f4, and bishop takes on f4. And now with bishop to g5, the position is described as equal, but this a4 move, Fischer said in the book that it's a much sharper line. But Pilnik goes for f3. He just wants to stay solid, and now Fischer plays queen to c7. Maybe you need to just develop the knight, and then you are fully prepared for battle. And now here, here I can show you. Here Fischer says that the move, if you're playing the Sicilian defense, with black pieces, you need to execute d5, and if you execute d5, you're better. Fischer says that d5 is premature because we would see some trades, captures, knight captures, queen captures the knight, queen captures, and bishop captures, and rook from f to d1. The bishop is attacked, and the point is that all of white pieces are fully operational, are on the best squares, and black has not developed the knight yet. Black is not well coordinated, so this would be better for white, as you can see by the evil. Fischer played queen to c7, and now we have queen to e1, and the book, this was the usual plan, but Fischer says that this plan doesn't work, and it delivers nothing for white. and black can freely expand on the queen side with no threats. So let's see how Fischer deals with this queen to e1 plan, and I believe nowadays no white player plays this move queen to e1 in this position. We have knight from b to d7 and rook to d1, nicely controlling the d file. Fischer continues with b5, preparing b4 ideas to dislodge the knight, and we have rook d2, nicely defending the c pawn if b4 is played, and knight jumps to b6. Here it's pointed out that Fischer said that white would need to recapture this knight quickly with check, and the king would move. But here Pilnik made a mistake, and he played queen to f2, which is a threat because you're threatening to capture the knight. And here Bobby missed this amazing opportunity. Bobby played a rook from a to b8. He defended the knight, but I'm going to show you a very nice line what Bob missed. He missed knight to c4. You're attacking the pawn and the rook, as you can see, and now so you can't defend the pawn and the rook, and you need to capture this knight. Bishop takes on c4. We would see something like b takes on c4. And now at Zwischenzug by white, let's say, for example, this is the best approach. Bishop goes to b6 and queen to c8. Knight jumps to a5 and knight to d7, attacking this bishop. And now knight to d5, nicely defending this bishop. But we see some trades, captures, and sorry, this is not a rook. Rook captures, and now rook to b8, and as you can see, this pawn will fall because the bishop is attacked twice, so you need to move the bishop, let's say, to e3, and now black can play whatever. Black can play knight to f6, black can capture the pawn. This knight is awkwardly placed, so this is a much better position with the black pieces. And here in this position, let's say if I go back, in this position, if you were thinking about just moving the knight to c1 square, we would see something like rook from a to b8, and now knight to a4, nicely defending the pawn. But do you see the best continuation? You play c3. And now white is already lost, as I can say. Let's say, for example, if you accept this pawn, what else are you going to do? B takes on c3. We would see something like queen c6, threatening to capture the knight. Knight to b6. Knight is nicely defended by the queen and the bishop. And now bishop to d8, and you're losing the game. Where are you going to put the knight? This is the question. The knight is trapped. So Fischer missed, and he played rook from a to b8, and now we have a trade. Pilnik captured this knight. Rook captures on b6, and knight jumps to d5, nicely eyeing, nicely forking the queen and the rook. So you need to capture the knight. Fischer took the knight. E takes on d5, attacking the bishop, and bishop goes back to d7, and even f4, striking the center. And here Fischer says that he played bishop to f6 because he wanted to have control of the e5 square. If Pilnik took the pawn, he would capture with the bishop. But Pilnik played c3. He defended his weak c2 pawn, and rook from b to b8, nicely going to that back rank, because the queen was always eyeing on that b6 square. We have f takes on e5 and bishop takes on e5, and now knight jumps to d4 and even g6. A nice structure. Bishop can always move to that g7 square. We have a3 preventing any expansion on the queen side, but Fischer does exactly that. Fischer expands. We have a5, b4 is a threat. King side step to h1, and now even b4, trying to get a passed pawn. And now we have c takes on b4, a takes on b4, and rook to c2. The rook is nicely defended by the knight, so there's a threat. Queen goes to b6, knight to c6, attacking the rook. The queens are staring at each other, and Fischer continued with the best move. He took the pawn. B takes on a3, and now I'm going to show you a line. If maybe some of you guys are thinking, can you capture this rook because my queen is defended by the rook? Well, let's see. If you capture the rook, you're getting destroyed very quickly. We would see something like, first Bobby would capture the queen, and now rook captures, and now you push the pawn. You need to see this a2 move. You need to defend. If you defend with f1 rook, let's say for example, you get bishop to f5, nicely attacking the c2 rook, so the rook needs to move. And now you just capture the knight. What's the threat? This pawn will queen. So let's say for example, you go after the pawn, you're completely losing. Rook takes on b2, and your bishop is attacked, so you need to move it. You go after the pawn, but now you go after the king if you're black. You play bishop e4, the threat is fork, so you need to defend, and now you're losing the game with bishop to d4, and you need to resign. You're going to lose the rook, otherwise what can you do? What can you play? This is the question. You've got no moves, so you're losing. In this position, Bobby played b takes on a3, and of course Pilnik didn't fall for that. He captured the queen. Rook captures the queen, and now b takes on a3, and now rook to a8, nicely eyeing that pawn. And here Pilnik made a mistake. He captured the bishop, because this move is a mistake, because Fischer gets a passed pawn. The point is that Fischer points out that he needed to find rook to a2, and then we would see something like rook b2, rook captures, bishop captures rook, and this would be the best approach. Bishop b5, and we would see something like rook takes on a3. And this position is black is still a little bit better, but this would be the best approach for white. Pilnik played knight takes on e5, and we have d takes on e5. Rook goes to c3, nicely defending the a3 pawn. And here, if you're thinking about Fischer says and describes if Pilnik would go for more active play, let's say, for example, rook to c7, you would play rook d6. You defend the bishop and you attack the pawn. And now, let's say, for example, if white would go for some tricks with bishop to b5 to, let's say, for example, you force a trade and then you capture and somehow deliver a check, you're losing, because Fischer would capture the bishop. And now if rook from f takes on f7, and now if you think you're going to checkmate that black king, black has an amazing move in rook c8. And the point is that you're going to run out of checks. If you capture this rook, the king captures f7 rook, so you're losing. Pilnik didn't go for that, and he played the rook to c3, and now rook b2. When the rook lands on the 7th or 2nd rank, the game is over. We have rook c7, and bishop goes to f5, nicely cutting the rook's eye on that weak f7 square, and g4 by Pilnik. He wanted to attack this bishop so he could capture the f7 pawn, but the best thing for Pilnik would be to play bishop c4, and then we would see something like rook c2, pinning this bishop, d6 pushing the pawn, and now Fischer says he would play rook c4. Rook takes, and bishop to d3, and rook from f to c1. Bishop takes on c4, rook takes on c4, and rook takes on a3. You need to defend, because if you play, let's say you're getting mated, so you need to play king to g1 and king to g7, and black is completely winning. So here in this position, if I go back, let's say Pilnik played g4, he attacked this bishop, and Fischer delivered a nice check. Pilnik blocked with the bishop to f3, and bishop goes to d3, attacking the rook, and now d6 pushing the pawn, and a discovery on the rook. We have rook to d8, attacking the d6 pawn, and now rook to e1, attacking the e5 pawn. And now rook takes on d6. And here, this is the interesting line which Miguel Najdorf cheated to Bobby Fischer after the game, and he said that e4 is winning on the spot because this pawn is nicely defended, and white is going to lose the d6 square. And the point is that, let's say, for example, if white collects this pawn, bishop takes on e4, black would play rook b1, and the game is over. Rook takes, and now you first capture the bishop with check. King needs to move, and then you just collect the rook. So you're up a piece, you're completely winning. This is the line that Najdorf represented to Fischer, so a very nice line. Fischer captured the pawn, and Pilnik captured on e5, but now rook to f6. This rook nicely defends the f7 square and attacks the bishop. And now we have rook to e3, defending the bishop and attacking the d3 bishop. And here, if you're not careful in this position, if you're thinking about playing bishop to g2, you'll get mated quickly. Rook b1 check, you need to block, and rook takes rook, you need to block the bishop, and even bishop to e4 with check. King needs to move, but whatever you play, this is a nice mate, so that doesn't work. Here Pilnik tried rook e3, and here Bobby played, I know you see it, rook takes on f3, rook takes, and bishop to e4, nicely pinning this rook. Pilnik tried rook takes on f7, but rook to f2, pinning the rook. And Rook to f8 was played, and when Fischer played king to g7, it was also in this position that Herman Pilnik, the Argentinian grandmaster, resigned the game because he knows there is no defense. Here, the point is that whatever you play with the white pieces is not enough, and soon you're going to get checkmated. Let's say, for example, if you deliver a check on f7 square, Fischer would move the king to h6, and then you have nothing. And if you, let's say, for example, if you try to harass this rook, Fischer would just capture the pawn because the rook, because the rook was pinned. So this would be over pretty quick. And let's say, for example, in this position, if you try to harass the bishop with rook f4, we would see something like Fischer could just capture the rook with check, and if you play king g1, we would see something like rook g2 check and king f1, and now bishop goes back to c6, you're up a bishop. So even if you try to harass the bishop, this would be another pin, and then we would see something like captures and recaptures. Fischer would be up a piece, so that doesn't work. And here I can show you once again if Fischer can play bishop to d5, and now if you try to harass the rook, we would see something like rook takes, and now rook d4, bishop to e6, and this is completely winning. You're up a piece, so Pilnik knows this, so he resigned. So yeah, this is it. The end of game 4. We will continue to analyze Bobby Fischer's games. So if you enjoy it, please you can feel free to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my Bobby Fischer's games. Really appreciate it. And if you, like I said, if you know some friends, family members, or people who like Bobby Fischer, please share this video, like it, and so many people can reach out and watch Bobby Fischer's games. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you soon with the next chess video. Stay tuned and goodbye.